Bookish family. I'm totally exposing myself today. Ah! I am such a K-pop stan. This is like my guilty pleasure. I've been listening to K-pop, supporting K-pop, watching K-drama, all like Hallyu culture since the 90s, and I love it so much. I love it so much. So, that being said, I am so excited to give you the K-pop book tag, which is created by Kate File. I think I'm saying her last name correctly. I was tagged to do this by Nana over at Lit Nana, who I don't believe is making YouTube videos anymore, but thank you anyway, Nana, for tagging me to do this video. For anyone who doesn't know what these two fandoms are, hello, like, where have you been? These are the two biggest fandoms in K-pop right now. Not even arguable. It's a BTS fan. He's so cute. And my Blackpink light stick that I got at their World Tour concert. These questions were created originally in 2016, and so they were built around popular K-pop groups at the time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm kind of going to upgrade the questions a little bit, because some of the groups that are mentioned for the prompts of these bookish questions either disbanded or they're just not making music anymore, maybe they're on hiatus, whatever the case is. Question number 1 is a book that's super hyped and that you're scared to get into. This is based off the band EXO. Now, I think I'm gonna change that because for me, that group would be Monsta X. I am kind of nervous to get into Monsta X because their fans are serious. The same goes for A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's so scary to me. The fan base is so real for this book. I get really nervous over super hyped books, as we can see from my history of reading really popular manga. Yes, I agree. The next question is based off of 17, who is no longer debut, because the question is a debut author that you're in love with. So since 17 is like way past debut stage at this point, I'm gonna switch 17 for another creator called DJ Elia, who I'm just in love with the song that she put out called Belongs to You. It's just so good. But a debut author that I'm in love with, Raven Leilani, who wrote Luster. Luster was so good. Luster was fantastic. I need more from Raven Leilani. I was so surprised to find out that this book was about so much more than what's actually on page. It's one of those books where you really need to read between the lines. And I went into this not knowing that it's really about an artist, and when I started doing more research into wanting to hear about why Raven Leilani wrote this story, I found out that there were a lot of interviews done with some really prominent art museums and about her experience trying to become a visual artist. It was so raw. This book was so raw. It was so good, so good. Even though I didn't give it a perfect 5 stars, it's one of those books where it's like, in my heart of hearts, it is 5 stars. In my heart of hearts. But my objective rating is a 4.5. For the question based off the group Speed, a book that everyone seems to have forgotten about but you still love, I'm gonna switch Speed to Bundit. I feel like Bundit does not get enough hype. Their songs are so good, but they barely get any traction, and I feel like they deserve more credit. My bookish answer to this is The Martian Chronicles. I feel like The Martian Chronicles is one of those books that's not really popular on BookTube, but I love The Martian. It is classic sci-fi. If you like the Twilight Zone and just kind of shows or books or stories that talk about what people thought the future would be like of space travel and aliens, it's dark, it's got some horror aspects to it. It's a bunch of short stories about people trying to colonize Mars and there's aliens there. It's It's so good. It mimics what happened when the US and other countries tried to like colonize different parts of the world. So good. The Martian Chronicles is one of those classic sci-fi books that I think deserves way more hype than it actually gets. It is really funny because it was written almost 100 years ago, predicting what the future would be like, and I love reading stories like that. It talks about racism, it talks about colonization, it talks about indigenous peoples. So good, so good. Okay, for the question, a book that's your favorite spin-off series, this question was based off of the group Bastars, but I'm pretty sure they're disbanded at this point. So for a spin-off group, I'm gonna replace Bastars with Irene and Silgi because their song Monster is so good. So good. I love them so much. I'm like a huge Red Velvet stan, so anything that is like subunit or anything coming out of Red Velvet, I automatically love. But this, I haven't really read too many spin-offs, so I think I'm just gonna have to go ahead and say Mistborn Era 2. I recently read Era 2 as part of the Cosmere year-long Crab-along Brandon Sanderson read-along, and it was okay, though I will say book 3 was probably my favorite because it had the most like Cosmere connections, or I learned the most about relations to the first original series, Era 1, in the last book of this spin-off trilogy. The next question is based off of GOT7, and the question is a book with a really unique cast of characters. I think I'm gonna replace GOT7 with my girls from Blackpink because each of the girls in Blackpink are doing their own solo work. They're just very independent in their own marketing and branding aside from like the group work that they do. So I feel like I need to give it to them for being a very unique cast of band members. So for my answer to this bookish question, I'm giving it to The Galaxy and the Ground Within by Becky Chambers. This is the 4th book in the Wayfarer series, but you guys, this book is so good. This is one of the best endings that I've ever read in a series. The characters in this book, none of them are human. It's fantastic. It's the only non-human entire story that I've ever read, and it was amazing. We have all these aliens from all these different planets with all these different customs, with all these different biological needs, with all these different cultural insights, and they're all kind of stuck at a space rest stop as a layover place. They can't leave their planet because something happens that just keeps them there temporarily, and they have to coexist for a certain amount of time, get to know each other, get to respect each other. It is so good. If you haven't read the Wayfarer series, what are you doing? It's so sweet and so wholesome to the max. The next question is your favorite fictional boyfriends, and I kind of want to change this question, but I'm gonna actually leave the prompt because the prompt is BTS. I think it should rather be your favorite fictional characters because not everybody has fictional crushes. However, I'm someone who does. Favorite characters in general, I loved Sazed so much from Mistborn. I love Sazed. Okay, Ken Kaneki, love. Tyrion Lannister is forever bae, and Lord Ruler. For Exid, who actually, I'm pretty sure Exid has disbanded at this point. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Exid has disbanded. So I'm gonna replace Exid with Alexa. I stan Alexa so hard. For this question, it is your favorite kick-ass lady. Asuka from Neon Genesis Evangelion is like super badass. She will kick anyone's ass. Vin from Mistborn. Kyoko from Skippy. I love Kyoko. She was not taking no for an answer. And also from Mistborn, Tindwyl. I love Tindwyl. Will forever be in my heart. I just want to be her friend. The next question is based off of Girls' Generation, also called SNSD. However, they have also, since this tag was made, disbanded. So I'm gonna switch them for twice. And the question is, favorite female friendship? Okay, this is a tricky answer technically, because in A Closed and Common Orbit, which is the second book in the Wayfarer series, we have a friendship between Sidra and Tak. However, Tak, I don't know if transgender is the right label, but in Tak's alien species, they actually switch genders pretty frequently. Depending on the cycle of their bodies, they will actually switch genders. So I believe when Sidra first met Tak, that Tak was a female, but their friendship either way is so freaking sweet. I love the lengths that they will go for each other and how open Tak is despite there being huge cultural differences, and when she finally understands who Sidra is, being as awesome and supportive as they were was just, I cried so hard in this book. Don't tear up, don't tear up, don't tear up. The next question is based off of Amber, originally from the band FX. I love Amber. Amber is fantastic. I don't really have to change this prompt because Amber, I believe, is still pretty active, but I think someone who's also contemporary and really fits this question is Jessie. I love Jessie. She's actually from my hometown. It's awesome. And this is a character that doesn't stick to the norm. So I think I'm going to go with Binti from Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. Binti went against what her family valued, which is staying within their tribe, staying within their area, and she left to go to college. That is a very tough decision to make, especially for someone coming from a very long lineage of specific heritage and traditions such as the Himba people. Okay. So for Suho's prompt, I think I'm gonna switch Suho to RM because the question is the best mom. And we all know that RM is such a good mom to our boys. So I'm going to answer this question with Pepper from A Closed and Common Orbit. I know Pepper's like not really a mom, but Pepper's a mom, okay? And then also Misato from Neon Genesis Evangelion, because Misato does whatever it takes to protect everyone at all costs, even if the reason is guilt. The original prompt to the question, favorite royal couple, was G-Dragon and CL, but they are no longer dating, so I'm switching that to another popular K-pop couple, which is Hyuna and Dawn. And I'm going to answer the question with Vin and Ellen from Mistborn. They are so good for each other. They're so cute together. The purity of this relationship. And lastly, for the prompt Psy, which I'm not even gonna change, a book that made you get into reading. The Stand by Stephen King. I mean, I was reading when I started reading The Stand. I'm pretty sure I've told the story a couple times on my channel. I was reading other books. I had a teacher that took Twilight from me and gave me The Stand and said, if you don't like The Stand, I will give you back Twilight. Read The Stand in 2 days. And then I finished Twilight eventually, but The Stand was the first adult book that really hardcore. I never looked back. So now it's time to tag some people. I'm gonna tag some bookish K-pop people who I know will like this tag. Now, I am going to leave the original tag questions and links to the original video in my description below, along with my chosen updates, which you do not need to follow. It was just my decision to bring this tag 5 years into the present, so you don't have to follow my prompts if you don't want to, but I am going to leave the originals down below. I'm going to tag Sasha over at the Redhead Reader, who was one of my buddies for the BTS readathon. In that similar vein, I'm going to tag Nessa from Books with Nessa because Nessa was also one of the co-hosts for the BTS readathon with me. Also, Katrina over at Katrina Ames, who is one of the co-hosts for the Crab Along with me. And Cherry over at Cherry Actually Reads, I would like to see do this video as well. Let me know what you think of the K-pop stars who I updated for these questions, and let me know if you're interested in doing this tag. I would love to watch it. I post videos every week. Catch you later. Bye!
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.
In your wildest dreams, you'll put out the ledger.